After pretty much 9 years, EU4 is actually taking a deep look at the Ottoman Empire, and boy is it gonna be an interesting one. So 1.35 and the adjacent DLC, which by the way 1.35 will have a DLC. It's not gonna be just a free patch anymore. Now it's pretty much confirmed since Johan said it in the comment section on the PDX forums. That's where I'm getting my info from. Maybe he's gonna change his mind, I don't know, but so far what I've seen in the comment section from the previous dev diary, that's gonna be a DLC. Anyway, the point is that today we're gonna check out the Ottoman Empire mission tree and new flavor. I got 61 pages. Wait, is it more than 61 actually? Let's check. Okay, no, it's around 60 something pages. Might be a little bit less depending on what I have to trim out and stuff, but it's insane, guys. First off, you know how historically the Ottomans managed to conquer the MAMLUKS Sultanate almost instantly after just winning a single battle in which they took out the leadership of the MAMLUKS and they basically just replaced it with their own leadership, and that's pretty much it, right? Well, there's something similar to that in this dev diary, and there's just so much stuff. It's absolutely insane. So strap in. I'm gonna explain in detail every single change coming in 1.35 to the Ottoman Empire and how this is gonna impact your games, because it's definitely going to impact everybody's games since it's gonna be a massive update, bigger than anything we've seen up until now. They start off by mentioning that there will not be any more branching missions with the next DLC because it comes alongside with some issues and a few other reasons why, but the point is that we will not see Teutonic Order style missions where depending on what choice you go for, you get a different outcome. No more branching, that's it. I guess Lions of the North was the only branching mission trees that we are gonna have. They also mentioned that they will likely be adding more government reforms, especially the generic ones, which people have really enjoyed, myself including. I really love the generic new government reforms, and I'm happy to see that they're thinking about adding more ones, maybe even balancing some, because like they say in the dev diary here, they know that some are way more powerful than other reforms based on whichever tier, so that's why a lot of people are only choosing specific meta, as we call them, government reforms. So maybe they're gonna restructure the reforms as they are right now to make other reforms more appealing a little bit, buff them up a little bit, maybe debuff, nerf, you know, some of the really powerful ones. That's an option as well. They also mentioned that even though the previous DLC was heavily focused on missions, the next DLC is going to focus on other things, especially like flavor events, new mechanics maybe as well, new tags, unique government reforms, and so on. So glad to see that, not just mission pack, essentially a proper DLC in the making. So yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. Suffice to say though that the next DLC is going to be huge. What we have here in these 60 pages of Ottoman Empire is not even half of what they're adding to the Ottomans alone, and that is just mind-blowing, the size of the next DLC to come. They also acknowledge that the Ottomans feel rather bland compared to other major powers in EU4 as of now. That's one of the main reasons they decided to redo a lot of things for the Ottomans. I mean, look at this mission tree here. We start with a proper mission tree, boys. By the time you get to the City of World's Desire, you already have 9 freaking missions, rather than City of World's Desire being your first mission as it is in 1.34, right? And then look at all this stuff here. Repurpose Hagia Sophia. I think that's gonna piss off a few people, just putting it out there. Develop Constantinia. Mediterranean Jewel. Subjugate the Romanians. Want to have a word with whoever made this mission tree. I feel like something's wrong here, okay? And of course, defeat the Mamluks, everybody's soon-to-be favorite mission. Subjugate Egypt, fate of the Mamluks, and so on. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here, because they do go through most of these missions, and they start off by mentioning how, you know, the game begins after the aftermath of the Battle of Varna, and they show how this impacted the Ottoman Empire in EU4, because end of the day, the Battle of Varna is a major landmark and a major bookmark, let's say, right, in EU4 terms, in history. It basically changed the tide of the war between Christianity and Islam. It really changed the entire aspect of Europe. It changed the Balkans forever. 500 years afterwards, pretty much the Balkans was under Ottoman control. Not exactly 500, like 450, but the point is that it did completely reshape the Balkans alone and other parts of Europe as well for a very long time to come. You're going to be greeted by this event from day one. You get 25 power projection and 100 splendor because you did defeat the Crusaders at Varna, and that's your little reward right there. Afterwards, you get the Siege Engineer Urban, which if you pay him 97.27 ducats, that's extremely specific, by the way. You can hire him and he's going to give you morale morale of armies as level 2 advisor. You also get bronze mortars in Edirne. So you get these way before military tech 7, which is, in my opinion, insanely powerful. But listen to this, because you do get them before military tech 7, they will not be able to do any damage. So take good care of them. Of course, there is an alternate requirement to this mission if you do not hire urban. Now, the thing is, even though they don't do any damage, you still can use them to siege down Constantinople faster. It's not like you're paying your ducats and upkeep for nothing, right? End of the day. Essentially, after you get the mission, the City of World's Desire enacted, you're gonna get the great capital Constantinople, which is gonna offer some bonuses, and then you're gonna have this split up into 5 different directions, each of these directions with a specific purpose. The one on the left is gonna be about pretending you're the Roman Empire, which is clearly not the case. You know, the Ottomans having nothing in common with the Romans except the fact they just took their lands. That's it. That's it, okay, Turkish people and watching this? Stop it! I don't want to see you in the comment section telling me anything else, okay? Anyway, the country's name will change to the Devlet Irum, and you get until the end of the game plus 10 absolutism, as well as a new imperial capital event, which is gonna make Rome the new empire as long as you conquer the Roman Empire borders, essentially. Well, you don't have to conquer all of the Roman Empire, but yeah, all cultures in the Latin culture group will be accepted. The new eyalets that have their capital in Italy will cede all their provinces to you. So eyalets is like a vassal sort of thingy that the Ottomans now have, and you also get territorial core on every ceded province. Now, I don't know, man. I feel like it's not fair that the Ottomans can form the Roman Empire a lot easier than, you know, countries that actually have some claim to forming the Roman Empire. Maybe that's just me. If you're gonna make it easier for the Ottomans to form Rome, maybe you should make it easier for everybody to form Rome. Just saying, you know? Now, they mention here that eyalets are a new mechanic added for the Ottomans. More on that later. Second mission row is about the Ottoman consolidation of the Balkans and the conquest of North Africa. You get a a new naval doctrine. The Maghrebi corsairs that offer extra privateer efficiency allow you to raid coastlines. So that's right, the Ottomans will be able to raid coastlines. It's not like they're overpowered enough. Now they can also raid coast. I feel like this might be a little bit overdoing it, okay? Come on. And we just got started with this. Come on, man. The middle row concentrates on the development of Constantinople, the conquest of the MAMLUKS, and the push into African lands. Now let's go ahead and talk about the eyalets. It is a new subject type. Historically, these were provinces of the Ottoman government, but in the game they are subjects which do not take any diplo relations and govern the land for you. So essentially it's vassals, but you don't pay for the diplo relation slot. As you go your path of conquest, the game will trigger events for you where you can release eyalets as one of your subjects. So instead of coring lands, you just release the eyalet without having to waste your mana points on coring those provinces if you want to. So you can create the eyalet of Hungary or eyalet of Carpathia or only Nitra. You can choose. You get different options of choosing which areas you want to have released as your eyalets whenever these events pop up. Also, like I said in the previous dev diary, guys, this is early access. The pictures, they look like this because of that. And because I'm using dark mode for this. Otherwise, it's super, super bright. Because this is a Google Forms. It's not on the actual Paradox Forms just yet. Eyalets are also not automatically called into your wars. You have to call them by using favors. Or you can take an opinion hit with them if you don't have favors. So they really are different from regular vassals. End of the day, it costs 20 favors to call them into an offensive war and 10 to call them into a defensive war. You also see here there's the new interactions on the diplo relations screen. You can also rein in eyalet, which essentially means annex the eyalet, and it does cost diplo points like you would with the regular vassal to integrate your regular vassals. Now, unlike regular vassals, the eyalets also give you 20% of their manpower and sailor pool, as well as force limit and money, of course. force. They're also designed to give you roughly the same amount of manpower and force limit as if you own the provinces yourself. So that's actually really interesting. So it's kind of like getting double the amount, since you know, you also get the Aeolit's proper army, and you also get the force limit and manpower from the Aeolit as if you own the province, right? Right now there's 8 predefined and scripted Aeolits, but you can still make your own through special casus belli, which you can fabricate on neighboring countries. I'm actually really excited to see what that's going to be about. Why is this saying subjugate Wallachia, justify invasion on Wallachia? I disagree. No. Okay, no. Wallachia needs to be independent. If you guys play Ottomans in the next update, you need to make sure the Romanian lands are independent. Okay, do this for me, and I promise I'm not going to come after you if you do. Oh, would you look at that? Wallachia's Aeolit guy is Vlad II Draculești. Totally nothing's going to go wrong in the Wallachian Aeolit, is there? Now let's talk about the big brain stuff here, namely the invasion of Mamluks, and how there's a lot of missions revolving around this, as well as a lot of missions that help you basically integrate all of the Mamluk lands a lot easier. You just need to have 6 provinces of the Mashariki part of the Mamluks, which you can take in one war, obviously, and that's going to allow you to get a special CB, the Ottoman invasion of the Mamluks, which lasts for 50 years, and it makes it so that you can establish a core Aeolit in Egypt as long as you get permanent claims on the entirety of the Mamluk lands. After you win the siege of the capital, the event fires the collapse of the Mamluk Sultanate. So you just need to siege down their capital. That's it. This land belongs to Sultan Mehmed II Fatih. If we hold Cairo for 3 years, we essentially create the Egyptian Aeolit. That's it. You literally just need to hold their capital for 3 years, and you get all of the Mamluk Sultanate. That is freaking ridiculously overpowered. What? I mean, come on. As for the Mamluks, when that happens, they lose 3 stability and they gain 10 war exhaustion, alongside, you know, being an Aeolit now. Another thing that happens is the Mamluks inherit Fadl, they inherit Hejaz, and the country name changes to Egypt when you become the Aeolit, and you get the Aeolit government as the Mamluks. If you're, you know, if you're gonna lose against the Ottomans, which hopefully doesn't happen if you're playing as the Mamluks, especially in the multiplayer scene, that's gonna be an interesting scenario, let's say. This is what it looks like here, essentially as the Ottomans. You just need the northern provinces in Syria, then you do your mission, you occupy the capital of the Mamluks for 3 years, and you turn all of the blue stuff here into your Aeolit, which means instead of having 5 different wars to take all of the Mamluk lands, you just have 1. That's it. That is ridiculous, my man. That is super freaking easy. After you seize Egypt for yourself, you will also be able to seize the Caliphate, which is housed there. As such, the branching mission are about going down a legalism or mysticism path. So you choose, either you go full mysticist or you go full legalist. If you manage to unify Islam, you will be able to complete the mission and gain a reward, which is not only useful to you, but to every remaining Muslim nation. So essentially, every Muslim country is able to enact a second golden age or extend their current one by 50 years. That is just insane, dude. Holy mother of schnapps. So every Muslim country gets a second golden age. I hope they counterbalance this with some bonuses to the non-Muslims, essentially, right? And then the last row of the tree will be a motivation to push into Persia and secure the ancient Silk Road. So you also get some flavor towards taking hold of the Persian lands. Eventually, after you get the Pax Ottomana mission enacted, you get an extra 5% admin efficiency, but that is very down the line, of course, and it does have a lot of requirements, obviously. Now that's it for the mission tree, but we do have a lot more stuff. We're just halfway through this dev diary, actually, for the Ottomans, starting with the new Janissary estate. That's right, the Janissaries are getting their own estate, and they are gonna be an issue, let's say. Now, of course, because they are their own estate, they also get a ton of different privileges that you can grant them, similar to how it's gonna be for Ming with the eunuchs, essentially, that I covered in the previous video. You'll find the link to that in the description. Now, let me try and zoom in a little bit here. You can see that you can get army tradition, leader shock, infantry combat ability based on the amount of land that the Janissaries have. So the more they have, the more infantry combat ability you get. If they get 7%, 3.8, that means for 100. What? You can get 50% infantry combat ability from having hold up a second here. Please don't give the Ottomans 50% infantry combat. Please. That seems like it's a mistake, okay? I'm saying it right now. That is definitely a mistake. Come on. They also get like 10% discipline. Let me check what the other privilege here gives them. 10% discipline, manpower. Oh god, these are so broken, man. I really hope this is going to be nerfed a lot because in the current state, that's just way too much, in my opinion. There's a lot of miscellaneous stuff as well, like events. For example, once you get the weaving, gold, and silk, you get an extra 10% local goods produced for cotton, silk, and dye, and wool and cloth. And until the end of the game, 15% provincial trade power modifier. Both of these are permanent modifiers, okay? So I really feel like this is super powerful. I mean, I get it that we're getting a ton of flavor for the Ottomans, but the Ottomans right now in EU4 are super powerful. With all of this stuff added in, it's literally going to be impossible to fight the Ottomans at all as anyone in the game. It's going to be close to impossible to do anything as the Byzantines, for example. On the bright side though, the Janissaries will demand a ton of stuff, and they're going to be a nuisance. The longer you go in the game, the more problems you're going to get with them. So like you get events that give you -5 discipline from the Janissary officers. You get corruption yearly if you grant them marriage rights and so on. There's a lot of stuff like that. It's basically a way of giving you some more flavor to interact with the particular state as you go along in the game. It's meant to be a little bit of a debuff as you go along in the game as well, the Janissaries, because historically the Janissaries were like the Praetorians were for the Romans, right? They started as elite units. Well, the Praetorians weren't. They were like, you know, guardsmen really. And they ended up being, you know, destroyers of emperors. Very similar to the Ottoman, okay? Just saying. You also have a decadence mechanic. This is, as they say, a big wish from the player base was that big empires have a way to break apart. As the Ottomans are the #1 subject of contention, I have decided to create a prototype of internal cohesion for the Ottomans. Depending on how well it is received and the game plays out with it, it might be expanded for the future. So essentially, guys, what this means is based on how this decadence system works in the next patch, in the next patch, we might see implemented the same system for all big nations. So keep that in mind. How does the funny bar exactly work? As in their own words, that's not me. They said that, okay? Decadence is basically a new type of measurement to get an idea of how cohesive and stable your empire is. You gain decadence from negative stability, from being bankrupt, from negative legitimacy, corruption, being over governing capacity, and losing a war, and from a pulse event which triggers if you have over 100 overextension. I would actually like to see this for all nations, not just the Ottomans from the next patch, because 100 overextension thing, it makes a lot of sense, really. Now, that being said, most of the other triggers here will never be the case with the Ottomans, because the Ottomans never have bad stability, they never go bankrupt, they never have bad legitimacy, etc., because they're just ridiculously powerful, right? But yes, overextension, governing capacity might be a little bit of an issue. Now, if you have good legitimacy and positive stability, it reduces decadence, but on a slower degree. At 100 decadence, you have to live with the following: 50% extra tech cost, stability cost modifier plus 100, liberty desire from subject development is not that much actually, plus 100% by the way. Reform progress growth minus 100 is a big deal though, and Janissary influence plus 15%. I feel like this should be a little bit more buffed in my opinion. Like the tech cost is massive, I agree with that, but the other ones are not really as important as the tech cost. Maybe it should have some military debuffs as well included. And I'm not saying that because I want to destroy the Ottomans so I can win my runs as the Byzantines. Totally not saying that because of that. It's just a suggestion, okay? There's also a set of special disasters that get unlocked when the Ottomans reach 100 decadence, like the internal power struggle here, which is a new disaster they got, and this is gonna hurt. Oh, it's really gonna hurt, this one, because it gives +1 national unrest. That's right, the disaster gives you +1 national unrest. Pain! I'm in pain, everybody! It's a big pain right there. Then again, we also get power struggle of the Ottoman Empire, where you lose 50 prestige and 50 legitimacy, but you unlock the Janissary coup, plot of the harem, Iyalid rebellion, Pasha decadence disasters. Oh boy, now it's actually painful. They got 5 disasters here, but that being said, you can actually pursue the disasters in order to unlock new missions here down the line after Pax Ottomana. You got Regulate the Harem, Restructure Administration, Aeolate Crisis, Handle Janissaries, and all of this leads down to a new dawn. Essentially, you get a lot of new missions, and the end of these new missions is really juicy. Just pay attention. This is going to be insane. Now, obviously, to navigate through this, you're going to get a lot of bad stuff. You're going to have to deal with the rebellious Aeolate. You're going to have to deal with the Janissary coup, but eventually you'll get over it, and the end result is actually really, really insane. Depending on how you deal with the Janissaries, you can get the Mansur army reform, which unlocks the Mansur army government reform. It disables the Janissaries, so you get rid of them, but you cannot recruit them anymore, of course, if you get rid of them. However, it gives you 10% discipline, as well as yearly army tradition decay minus 1%, and your tech group and unit type changes to Western units. You can Westernize as the Ottomans in the late game. Come on! The only advantage Western Europe had was that in the late game, they're stronger units than the Ottomans. Now the Ottomans get freaking Western units? Come on! Or alternatively, you can reform the Janissaries, and it gives different stuff like reinforcement speed, reinforcement cost, and special unit modifier, so you can recruit more Janissaries and stuff. And towards the end, you get a new golden era for the Ottoman, or new era for the Ottoman Sultanate, which leads to the reorganized Ottoman government. The main feature of the reorganized Ottoman government is that the decadence mechanic is gone. So you do not have to handle decadence anymore at all as the Ottomans after you reform your government. And then the New Dawn mission offers you 100 power projection, stability cost modifier reduction, legitimacy, admin efficiency plus 5. So you get plus 10 admin efficiency just from these two missions. That is insane. 10% admin efficiency, especially if you're going to do a world conquest. Now, the Def Shurmi system that you get as a tier 2 government reform unlocks a new mechanic. It lets you choose between 3 different abilities, kind of like most of the other mechanics, I guess. And these, by contrast, have different bonuses. You can pay admin, diplo, or military, and they can offer you core creation cost reduction, diplo advisor cost, and possible advisors, as well as you get advisors to recruit. Or the military one is going to give you manpower recovery speed, as well as vassal manpower contribution plus 50%. Remember that the Aeolates give you a huge amount of manpower, so 50% from this interaction is going to be a ton of extra manpower, so it's really, really powerful. For tier 3, you get another reform, the provincial government system, that offers more tax, income from vassals, and promote culture cost reduction, as well as pashas give an extra 33% local tax modifier and minus 1 local unrest. There's other stuff like the fall of Vienna that can trigger when Vienna falls, that offers them 80 devastation and gives you a ton of amazing bonuses. However, every known Christian country in North Germany, South Germany, and Italy gets the Turkish threat advances, which gives them minus 1 stability, stab cost increase, national unrest increase for, I guess, 20 years or 25 years. So essentially, if you want to really hurt Europe, just siege down Vienna. That's all you gotta do. You can also make Austria into one of your Aeolates if you conquer them, and you can also get Barbarossa as an admiral now. There also is a special new government reform, the Sultanate of Rum, which does not have the decadence mechanic. So alternatively, if you really want to do it, you can also try and go for this, or as one of the Beyliks, try and go for this. But that being said, the Turkish minor states, which is the Beyliks, also start with the Beylik government reform that is unique to them. So like Karamans, all of these bad boys, they're gonna have this from the get-go. And you get another Turkish nation unique naval doctrine, the Great Turkish Navy. Next week, they will be discussing the Far East Asia with Big Boss, as they're gonna be revamping Japan. Now, I don't want to finish this video without saying something very important. Guys, they're really changing a lot of nations across Asia, the Middle East, and I highly suspect that this is one of the last 2 DLCs before they give a proper farewell to EU4. Now, we all know that EU5 is secretly being developed. That's without question. Now, the question is when they're going to announce it, either this PDX-Con or next PDX-Con, who knows? Depends on how much time they need to make it, right? So what I'm trying to say is that this is your chance to tell PDX what exactly you want EU4 to be like. So don't hesitate. This is really your chance. Say it in the comment section. For sure, someone's going to take a look at it and maybe get inspired for some new ideas, some new mechanics that could potentially make their way into the game. And sometimes just voicing something is a lot better than not voicing it, in my opinion. Hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and if you enjoy my content in general, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Would really mean the world and help me a lot more than you can imagine. And until the next time, guys, be good people. There's a lot of horrible people out there, and if you can make somebody else's life a little bit better by doing a good gesture, can be something as small as helping Joe Biden cross the street or something, you know. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And I want to give a massive thank you to all of my patrons, channel members, and Twitch subscribers. I would not be able to do this without all your support.